break to you guys. Bryce Thompson's got a torn labrum. It's going to require surgery. Going to have it sometime in the next, few days, and obviously going to have to miss some significant time. That time, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. Obviously, part of it depends on once they get in there and the severity of the fix. But obviously, he's going to miss some significant time. Could potentially be season-ending. That's a very strong possibility. I don't want to try to predict that before the actual surgery happens and we get a report back from the doctors. But that's where it is. Hate it for him. Individually, a kid that's really one of the hardest working kids I've ever been around. Really cares about this school, this program. Obviously, being an in-state kid, wanted to represent this program. So obviously, it also affects our team. One of our most experienced guy, with a team that was already kind of inexperienced for the most part. So it's difficult thing to deal with, but life sometimes throws you some curveballs. You got to be ready to adapt. Another challenge I look forward to trying to figure out how we can grow from and learn from and get better for. And obviously our prayers will be with him as he goes into surgery. We don't have that date at this point, but it'll happen sometime here in the near future.
Obviously there's a lot with him you can't replace. The experience that you talked about, the leadership on the court, in terms of what you can replace. What's kind of the objective and how do you go about it?
Yeah, I think to your first point, right, I think it was sort of evident, we weren't off to a great start, but we kind of lost ourselves pretty quickly after he went out. A guy who had been there, done that, played well in that building, played well against that team, pretty much since he's transferred from there. And so it's evident his impact not being there. In terms of the things, we just got to make the next guys that are available better, right? And they got to be ready to step up. And everybody always wants a bigger role and more opportunity, and for somebody, maybe multiple guys, that'll present itself now. And we always talk about when it's not your turn, staying ready, so that when it is your turn, you don't have to try to do something you haven't been already working at. So exactly how it looks from a rotational standpoint, can't really say, but we don't have a ton of depth anyway, right? But Jamyron, Justin, those guys who haven't played as much will probably get a little bit more of an opportunity as we turn the page.
He's one of those guys, and this is kind of what Scott was asking, who's been through the Big 12 grind before. How does, I'd imagine he'll be able to maybe stay around the team and help in some capacity? Yeah,
I mean, I think, again, I don't want to talk for him, but I talked to him and his parents yesterday and today. He got the evaluation done at a hospital in Tulsa, and saw a tear, and obviously thought they could play through it, but probably not best for him to play through it. It's obviously going to continue to bother him. It'll pop out, multiple times as he goes forward. So I think he'll be around Saturday. I think they're going to try to see if they can get the surgery today. If not, it probably won't happen till Monday. If it happens today, I'll get a report later. We'll see if he wants anything out about it. If it doesn't happen till Monday, then obviously he wouldn't travel with us to our game in Houston on Tuesday.
You kind of mentioned the rotation still kind of up in the air at this point, but Eric had been doing well off the bench. Does that move him into the starting lineup? Have you thought that far ahead?
I haven't. I mean, there's so many things that go into making that decision. He's going to play quite a bit, obviously. So I'm not as concerned about who actually replaces him as the quality of play that we get in his replacement, right? We're down to 9 healthy scholarship players now. So talk about a rotation base. Probably all 9 guys need to be ready to go. Some, and the game will kind of determine exactly what the rotation looks like. Foul trouble, runs, whatever.
Could the starting lineup be just, decided a little bit by matchup? Maybe different
and
guys.
That's, it's kind of right. And every game kind of demands something different. With Bryce, he's kind of a want to say a lock to start, but he is a lock to start because regardless of who we're playing, what he does for us is what we need on the floor, not necessarily versus the opponent. Then we talk about matchups, right? But with him out, we don't have 3 or 4 other guys who have that kind of impact on our team. Talk about Daly, right? For example, he started, but he's played better coming off the bench. Do we need to make sure we keep him in a good space there, and maybe Q gets back in there? Jairus, who started before, maybe he goes back in. We'll look at that the next couple of days in practice, and to your point about matchups, it'll probably be very matchup based as we move forward.
Yeah, because let's go back to the West Virginia game. It was kind of hidden in there, and I know people saw the 3 in the corner and paid attention to that. But his defensive effort in that game, and as a veteran, he knows what it takes to play defense.
And that's been pretty much the crux, the Achilles heel, if you will, of this team is just the defensive presence and conviction, aggression to really. I mean, we chart kills. You may have heard us talk about that. We get 3 stops in a row during the course of the game. We try to get 7 of those, give you a chance. We got 1 the other day, and it was literally like in the last 4 minutes of the game. We never really strung together stops. So to lose the guy who's made the most progress in that area, who's got the most experience dealing with these different types of teams that we've played, it's certainly going to make us have to reevaluate how we're defending and what we need to do to give ourselves a chance on that end of the floor.
Does that defensive development how much does film go into that? Is that heavily film based?
Yeah, it's mostly film, but a lot of it is just going through it. I think we talked about it before. What made the last few years teams so good defensively is they had been through that stuff so many times, and they watched a lot of film. But going out there and defending that pick and roll with DeJuan Harris and Hunter Dickinson wasn't new to those guys, right? It was new to Brandon Garrison 2 weeks ago. It was a little bit less new 2 days ago, right? But it's still not enough to where, like, every time he knows exactly where he's supposed to be so that the roll man doesn't get behind him, so he doesn't get split by the guard, so that he gets back to his man and blocks out, the shot goes up. So repetition as much as film, especially for young guys, because sometimes they don't even know what they're looking at. Oftentimes, you got to tell them everything. So let them do it over and over and over again. Stop it, do it over, stop it, do it over. And then coming back and saying, here are 20 of them. These 15 were good, these 5 were bad, this is why, and so that's part of the process.
Your freshmen have played about 1,500 minutes this year. It doesn't sound like that's going to slow down anytime soon, but what is something that only experience is going to help them with? Is it defense? Is it a lot of things?
Yeah. I mean, I think defense, right? Like, part of it also is just the weight of every game, right? The gravity of the preparation for every game at this level of college basketball. No disrespect to any other level, but you don't get outside of certainly the top 4 or 5 conferences where it's NCAA tournament team, Final Four contender, national champion, caliber. I'm watching the film today, and K-State versus Houston, right? Those next 2 teams we play, and like, yeah, think about the next game if you want. Like, you better be ready to play Saturday at 1 o'clock as best you can. And again, like we talk about, win, lose, or draw, get over it. So I think that part is what experience does, is it allows you to be able to forget the emotion of what happened yesterday or being bogged down by what may be coming up 3 days from now. Because that happens with young people. They look at the schedule and they get excited about things that they don't have any control over, that really don't matter, instead of just focusing on the here and now.
You've talked in the past about how freshmen progress at different rates. What's made this team unique? You've had some other high-minute freshmen. Obviously, Cade was a different thing, but even Ice and Yor back in the day.
Sure.
What's made this group different than maybe those others?
Well, I think what for those other teams had the luxury of a lot of other experienced guys with them. This team doesn't. So even our older guys are fairly new to this. Marsh, Hicklin, Javon, right? They play college basketball, but they didn't do it here. They didn't go Kansas, K-State, Houston, ever. If they did, it was kind of on an early season tour, and to kind of make some money for the school. So I think that's been the thing that we've had to ask these guys to carry more on their plates as freshmen to give us a chance to win, which most of the time they're not quite ready to do it consistently yet.
And we talked in the past about how the transfer portals hurt high school kids, but do you see yourself? That's kind of the game that it is now. But do you see yourself ever taking a class this big? I mean, you like your guys, I'm sure, but
I love our guys. I mean, the reality is though, it's probably not smart. Because you don't have time. Like all the things they have to learn, there's not enough time to help them and still win the games. So you got to focus on winning the games, which means you're neglecting some of their development. We're asking Brandon Garrison to do things he's just not ready to do yet, but he's out there. We need him to do it now. And so I don't want to give a hard, fast no, but it'll be my staff gonna have a hard time convincing me to take more than 1 or 2 freshmen.
With Connor in particular, are the things you've seen from him now, I guess, 4 games in the starting lineup, progress you're seeing from him lately?
Yeah, I mean, he's competing his butt off out there. He understands the game, so defensively, from a schematic standpoint, you can do a lot of things with him. It's more just a physical preparation for him. He needs to get stronger. He needs to put on some weight. This offseason is going to be big for him in that regard. And then he needs to get confident in his shot again. And that's the thing that people just assume he does well, which is where he's struggling the most right now, which is just consistently, making open threes. But defensively, he's battling. He's rebounding well. I think he had 6 rebounds the other day. And again, I'm thankful that he's got a mindset of growth, that he understands it's not going to be easy. He's going to show up today and give us everything he has. And on Saturday, whatever the game plan we have for him, he's going to do it the best he can.
He was guarding KJ Adams early in Lawrence. That's kind of the ultimate test of physical development. How do you hold up there?
He got pushed around. I mean, they saw that. They first played the game. They put him right in the post and, forced us to bring some help. And they hit a 3 from DeJuan, who we wanted to try to have beat us. But, it's to his point, right? When you're in a position to have those guys out there, you just got to get it done, son. There's nothing I can do to, once the ball tips, you're not a freshman. You're a basketball player out there. And you got to be confident and aggressive. And, you sometimes you take your licks in this deal, man. And you learn how to get better, and then you learn how to give them out at some point also.
How do you build a player's confidence like that? Is it different with everyone?
No question. Some players need to be, they need TLC. They need, and some guys don't respond to that at all. And I've coached multiple guys in both categories. The guys who need to have a foot up their butt usually have been challenged by their high school coaches in that way. And so they respond better to that, and some guys haven't before they got to this point, so they don't know how to respond to that type of coaching. So you gotta know your guys really well, and then you gotta be able to coach them at their level individually.
I think lately he maybe had more air balls than makes, but the fact that he keeps shooting is kind of evident at Kansas State whenever he hit that big shot. The fact that he keeps shooting, does that tell you that he's kind of got the right mindset that he's going to work his way out of this?
Yeah, I mean, again, he's shooting open shots. So if he's not going to shoot open shots, he's got to come out of the game, because then he's a liability on offense. There's a threat that he's going to make a shot, so teams are going to have to go out there and guard him. And it's just a matter of having a game where he makes 3 or 4, of the 5 or 6 ones he has open. It'll happen, and I think it'll kind of take the pressure off of him. Right now, it looks like he's trying to will the ball in the basket, and you can't do that. Like it'll keep getting worse.
How do you think Brandon's come along in terms of the aspect of looking for his shot versus when to move in? Like, how do you think he's come along?
Yeah, he's still way too passive, But again, there's a level of respect you can have for your opponents that can sometimes be too much, right? And you look up and you got Hunter Dickinson. He's the National Player of the Year candidate. And you're like, man, this guy's really, really good. Well, again, you guys on the same court. There are no weapons. Like, it's just 2 humans. You guys get the battle, and he'll be better for this. But I need him to continue to be more assertive as we move forward.
I asked Brandon about his comfort using his right or his left hand. Is that unnatural for a guy his age, or am I making too big a deal?
No, it's not normal for most players actually. Caleb Boone was pretty good either way. but I've coached a lot of big guys, and I don't know if I had any of them that were really good, other than him going over both shoulders, if you will, and using both hands. So it's about touch, feel, and he needs to continue to get better at that. But the part of it is just being more aggressive, looking for a shot.
Has the Big 12 gotten better since you got here in 2016?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's not even close. And somehow it keeps getting better, and it's gonna obviously get better again as with the addition of the 4 schools from the pack. So no question. I mean, the quality of play across the league, you know, and I think now you look up and you even, you know, I think people probably were least optimistic about Central Florida's transition than anybody, right? And they've got 3 wins already in conference. Kansas, obviously, Texas, and so they've equipped themselves pretty well. And we saw them in the Bahamas last year. We knew they would make a good transition, but yeah, the league keeps getting better, better coaches, better players. The environment's all great, and so it makes for, you know, not a whole lot of, you know, peacefully sleeping nights during the season.
Even before these teams started getting added to the Big 12, what was the league doing to contribute to that growing and getting better?
You know, I just think that everybody's got great coaches. I mean, starts there. Great coaches know you have to have great players. That's how you become a great coach. And then, again, you go around to the places and watch the games. There's unbelievable enthusiasm for basketball everywhere, right? And that helps. That helps. We've been to Lubbock, Ames, Manhattan, Lawrence, and then we go play the team who reportedly has the best defense in the history of college basketball, the next one. So it's you know, it's really good coaches who have really good styles of play and really good atmosphere. So I think just the love of the game here in this area has been a great contributing factor.
Do you buy that about Houston?
Oh,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you buy that about Houston?
I haven't watched them enough. I've obviously seen them play. We've coached against them. That's always been a big part of what they do. So I don't know if I want to make that statement. I've heard it, and I certainly, when we get a chance to start preparing for them, I'll see for myself.
No.
Thinking on the
Do
same?
you have any kind of relationship with Kelvin Sampson? at all?
Yeah, he's been a tremendous mentor to me and several other young coaches in the country, and I've leaned on him, you know, certainly before he got in the league, just for advice on, you know, how do you navigate the challenges. It's easy, the successes are easy, right? You got to watch that you don't get full of yourself, but it's really the day-to-day management of 15 players, the staff, their families, boosters, alumni, former play. Like, there's a lot that goes into it, and we embrace it, right? I'll say it again. I think I'm the most blessed person any of you guys have ever sat in front of. But there's a lot of challenges that come with being responsible for all that goes with being a head coach in the Big 12. So he's been a tremendous help to me as I've tried to continue to grow to become as good a coach as he's been over the course of his career. I think he's one of the all-time greats, literally. Regardless of sport, regardless of gender, regardless of level, like, he's one of the best coaches to ever coach a sport.
I mean, I know you probably saw the storyline around the Big 12 with the sign stealing thing. Is that something you'd ever thought of before, maybe even a couple weeks
No,
ago?
and I haven't thought of it since then. I don't think, again, I'm not getting into that specific incident because I don't know. But I don't know that happens. We watch a lot of film. I mean, like, I don't want to go there. I don't know anything about the specific incident itself. So I'm not picking sides. I don't have any experience with that at all. In 19 years.
It's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah,